Hey everyone, welcome to another DemPod episode. I'm Diana from Jake, and with this one, we're diving into a simple but important question. What is a podcast? Now, you might be thinking, is the thing I'm listening to right now? You're right, but let's dig a bit deeper because there's more to it than just talking into a microphone. Whether you're just curious or you're thinking of starting one yourself, stick around for the following minutes because we've got some good stuff lined up. So picture this. Podcasts are like modern day radio, but you get to choose what you listen to, when you listen to, and where. It's audio content on demand. But while radio sticks to schedules, podcasts break free. They can be about anything it's important for you and your community. If you can talk about it, there can be a podcast about it. But let me repeat something modern day radio. That's cool and all, but why does it matter? You might ask. Podcasts have grown into an important tool for sharing knowledge, creating discussions, and even advocating for change. You're not just listening, you're part of a conversation. You can learn, laugh, get motivated, or even get inspired to take action on something you care about. Now, let's get a bit technical for a second. A podcast is typically a series of spoken word episodes, often focused on a particular theme or topic. Think of it like a TV series but in an audio form. Episodes can be released weekly, bi weekly, monthly, or whenever the creator feels like it. Flexibility is part of the charm. They can be found on platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and even YouTube. Let's pause for a moment. If you could start a podcast, what would it be about? What's something you could talk about for hours and never get bored? Just keep that in mind as we continue. Now, did you know there are actually different types of podcasts? There could be interview podcasts where a host invites a guest or several guests to talk about a specific topic. Think of it like a talk show, but in audio format. There could also be storytelling podcasts, and if you enjoy a good story, this one's definitely for you. It could be fiction, real life experiences, or even investigative journalism. There are also conversational podcasts. These are more laid back. Think friends chatting about things that interest them. The vibe is casual, but the content can still be rich. Then there are also monologue podcasts, where it's just you and the microphone. Think TED Talks, but also in audio form. It's more scripted usually. And of course, hybrid podcasts, a mix of any of the above. Who says you have to pick one style? In fact, no matter your style, there's a podcast format that fits you. And when we talk about style, we're not just talking about the type, but also the tone. You can be funny, dramatic, informational, or all three in one show. So you've got endless possibilities. I'm pretty sure there's even a podcast about the history of spoons out there. Don't you believe me? Go ahead and search for it. Now, I invite you to think about the podcasts you've listened to. What drew you in? Was it the host's voice, the topic, or just that you heard everyone talking about it? That's the magic of podcasts. There's a connection, an engagement that makes you feel like you're part of something. Podcasts aren't just fun and games. In Europe, for instance, podcasts have become a powerful tool in democratic education. They're used to inform, engage, and empower young people. The European Parliament even has its own podcast to keep citizens updated on important issues. They are definitely more than just a platform for sharing stories or discussing hobbies. They're also powerful tools for education and social change. Think about it. Podcasts can bring expert knowledge to people who wouldn't otherwise have access to it. In Europe, they've been used to engage young people in democratic processes, helping them understand their rights, the functioning of the EU, and even how to get involved in local decision making. This makes podcasting not just a hobby, but a potential tool for advocacy and civic participation. Podcasts also have a unique way of building community because they're intimate, just you and the voice in your ears. They can create a sense of connection and belonging. Listeners often will feel like they know the host personally, which builds trust. That's why many advocates and educators use podcasts as a way to foster ongoing conversations around important issues. For climate change, for example, or around social justice. When you hear someone's voice passionately discussing a topic, it can be far more engaging than reading about it in an article. It's like having a friend who's always ready to share something interesting whenever you have a moment to listen. And let's not underestimate the creative freedom podcasts offer. You don't need to be a professional broadcaster to start one. You just need a microphone and a good idea. These can get you going. Actually, many successful podcasts started in someone's living room or garage. The low barrier to entry means more diverse voices can be heard, and that's crucial for a vibrant, inclusive conversation. So, if you're thinking about starting a podcast, remember this: your voice matters, and your unique perspective could be exactly what someone needs to hear. So, now that we know what podcasts are and why they're cool, we'll be talking about more specific things in the upcoming episodes. A little spoiler here: it's not just about talking, it's about connecting with your audience. That's it for this episode. Think you know what a podcast is now? I really hope so. But if you have more questions, don't worry. This is just the beginning. This is Diana from Jake. Thank you for listening. And remember, your voice could be the next one people are tuning into. Bye bye.